Hello, hello, and welcome to Saturday Soundbites. I'm your host, Veronica Sofer. Thrilled to be here with you again this week because on Saturday Soundbites, we talk about some of my favorite things, including branding, public relations, marketing, advertising, all the things you need to grow your business and have all the tools you need to be successful. We're going to go ahead and bring our guests on in just a moment. But before we do, I want to make sure that we take care of some housekeeping by reminding you to hit subscribe if you are listening on the podcast. We don't want you to miss any episodes of Saturday Soundbites. And if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, make sure you drop us some comments so that my guest and I can circle back and answer any questions that you might have. So we'll go ahead and get started today. I have the amazing Pamela Stone joining us this Saturday. Welcome and welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited too. The fact that the name of your company is Vision Made Media just makes my heart sing. So I'm just excited to find out where you came up with that name.
Yeah. So, first of all, I sit in the corporate world and, well, you may not know, but I sit in the corporate world and I was making everybody else's vision come true, but mine was sitting in the back. And actually, I didn't even know what my vision was until I sat down and I really started just toying with the idea, what could I do? And I started drawing my pictures, doodling, which we'll talk, I'm sure, later on more about. But then I was like, okay, if I can do this, let me go out here and see how I can help other women get their vision made. And so that's how Vision Made come alive. I have podcasts, I have a TV, I have a magazine. So that's how the media all came about.
I love it. I love it. So, Pamela, give us a little bit of background. Today on the show, we're going to talk about leaving the corporate hustle. But before we do, I think it's important for our audience to really hear from you, kind of your origin story and the path and the journey that you took to get here.
Yeah. So I still work in corporate. So let me first say that. But before I had this aha or epiphany, when I was sitting in the corporate world, I was really having a struggle of, is this it? I'm over 40 and thinking I'm making everybody's life happier than mine, their pockets larger than mine on what I do, on my skills. To take it in a step further, I was working with my girlfriend, and actually I was her project manager and she was my boss. She came in and said, "You know what? In 2 weeks, I'm doing away with your position," which was kind of heartbreaking because I was like, "I love what I do." She goes, "I know, but this isn't what your purpose is." So before she did that, she allowed me to tag along with her to see what her journey is outside of the corporate world. And so she speaks a lot. And so she allowed me to travel with her, became her admin, but I also got to see the other side of what a true entrepreneur lives and what it takes. And I really loved it. And so and I still do that for her still to this day. So she calls me, I'm like, yeah, I'm on my way. But I got to see what a true entrepreneur life is, the whole gamut of responsibilities, people you're responsible for. And then she sure did but she set me up with the knowledge and the experience. So fast forward to 3 years ago, I'm sitting in corporate, still doing what I just said. And I'm looking around asking my teammates, what is your guys' what's next? And 90% of my team said, I don't know, which was scary to me because there were women. And then I said, okay, so let me take it a step further. What if I remove every barrier I could from you? Would you do it? They still couldn't. So then that's how I got here. I'm like, I know my purpose. My purpose is to empower, inspire women to go after their what's next, no matter what. So that's where I'm at right now.
I love it. I love it. I love the empowerment. And then I love the what's next because I think that sometimes, and I know we've got listeners who are in the corporate space right now, or maybe in the governmental space or nonprofit space that are wondering what is next for them. What's happening now that their lives are changing. We've, made it through the pandemic. We were hyper focused for a couple of years. And now it's like, how do you put all that together? And for some people, it is going to be staying in the same space or in a corporate environment. But for others, it's entrepreneurship. And Pamela, I'm curious how you help people determine what that next step is.
So when women come or men, when people come to me, they're like, I don't even know where to start at. So we start peeling away at that banana. Let's sit down and let's just focus 5 minutes of quiet time. So we literally sit in a room quiet with some calm music, couple candles. And after we got relaxed, I go, what do you see yourself doing? Do you see yourself traveling? Do you see yourself living in a big house? Do you see what do you see yourself? And also understand while we're going through that journey of looking through the mind, we're also understanding what is holding you back. We
Yeah.
all have the obstacles, and I had faced the obstacles of the so much we face. And so we work on even doing some mindset work, working on, we are what we can be, and no one can define that for us. So that's where we start at, is with the mindset. And once we get the mindset down, knowing where we're going to start at, then we start creating a plan, a vision made plan on how we're going to get there, and what steps are we going to get there, and how we're going to get there, and the ways that we're going to get there.
Hmm. Yeah. And that's probably work that people think, well, I could probably do that on my own. But most of us don't have the wherewithal to even know the prompts,
Yeah.
just some of those questions that you asked. And like any athlete, you need a coach. Anyone working on improving, they need someone to help guide them through those next steps. Pamela, what do you feel like some of the biggest challenges are as people are contemplating this question of, do I stay in the corporate space? Do I go off on my own? What are some of the biggest challenges that they're facing?
Honestly, it's fear of
Mm,
the unknown. You're not know. I mean, those of us are sitting in corporate, let's be honest, corporate is our guide. We just follow their map as they laid it out for us. So when you're on the other side of the unknown, that scares us. And we that holds us back. And it creates so many, terrors. And so the first one is the fear. And I get a
mhm.
lot of fear of the unknown. And also, make this sound crazy, the fear of success.
Yeah.
There are I hear so many people like, wow, Pam, if I'd have came to you sooner, I would be so much. And I'm like, it's okay. Let's not worry about the all that. Let's party on your success. I'm all about partying. So let's party on your success and where you are, and let's keep it moving forward. So those are the first two I'm really hearing a lot of, is the fear of the unknown and the fear of success. And people are laughing at me, always laughing at me about fear of success. What do you mean? Well, because you're doing it on your terms, in your time, and you're not worried about anybody else. So those are
Mhm.
the two.
Yeah. Yeah, I can totally see that for sure. And
Yeah.
how do you help people work through that? I mean, what are some of the strategies that you use, or what are some of the topics that you want them to be thinking about as they're acknowledging that, yeah, maybe it is fear of success, or maybe it's fear of the unknown. How do you kind of coach them through that?
So you know what my biggest product that I use for that is, we use vision board. I'm all about the vision board. You don't see them around me, but I literally have 5 of them. And I believe in, if we see the pictures, if we see the words, and we see some affirmations, as well as we see our goal, that gets you triggered, and that gets this triggers and gets your adrenaline running so high that you got it. And you may stumble, but then with your stumbling blocks, you create your tribe, a tribe that you can just lay back on and say, hey, this is what I'm facing, can you help me? And it has to be this right tribe. Let me say that.
Mhm.
But you bring the right tribe to you, they will help you get you to your what's next, and explain to them. And as well as, again, I love some fun. Maybe we go do a little girls shopping or things like that. But I always believe in celebrating that as well. So that's how I incorporate it. We talk about, what does it look like when when you have reached a goal? And a lot of people are always like, well, I just reach a goal. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
Here, Vision Made, we celebrate. One thing I do is, how I celebrate is on my podcast on Wednesdays, I give a shout out to them for accomplishing their win. And so I just want people to know, because we don't celebrate ourselves. We don't celebrate the goal that we have set, because let's be honest, it's hard to reach a goal, especially when you have what's going on in the community around us, in the world around us. It's hard to reach that goal that you set, that you're going to say, okay, I'm going to do this week. So the celebration is also the key, and the vision board as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. So, yay! I love that because, I actually when I heard that, when we talked about celebrating, I felt like it was like celebrating all right then and there too. And
Yeah.
I feel like, when we think about cancer patients and they walk down the hall and they ring
Yeah.
that little bell and they celebrate it. Sometimes it's hearing music, sometimes it's hearing just the words come out of someone's mouth. Sometimes it's really just seeing, when your phone makes little those little emojis come up and those little memes come up and it makes you smile. All those kinds of things are a way to celebrate. And I had never thought about that, but I read it recently. And as you were
Mhm.
talking, I thought I need to implement more of those reminders to help me celebrate because I know I'm not celebrating enough.
See, you got to. You have to celebrate, and bring your girlfriends along, go out for a drink, just say, let's go get a wine or let's have some girl talk. And they'll be like, well, why? They're like, because I've reached my goal. And, we all, especially bring all your right girlfriends, they're like, oh, I love a good celebration and go out and celebrate and then celebrate their wins while you're there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And I love the idea of a tribe. Tell me about what your experience has been as you're working with people, like they've done their vision work, they've got a vision board or boards, and they've got some sort of direction of where they want to go. How do you help them bring it all together in community? Because you've mentioned community a lot. And so I have a feeling that's part of your secret sauce when you're working with people is community.
Well, actually, I community is big. We as women try to take on everything by ourselves,
Mhm.
and so with the support of the community is so essential. For instance, I actually have a woman who's now teaching rest yoga. Yes, rest yoga. And I was like, and when she first came to me, she's like, I'm not doing it. I'm like, yes, you are. What we're going to do is we're going to get everybody who is your support system, but also we had to break down who wasn't her support system, but she thought they were their support system.
Ah, that's a
So,
good one.
that's the first thing. Knowing that you can't bring everybody to your table, or better yet, not everybody is for your table. And one thing I have to say, as my mentor Eric Thomas says, you build your table to bring people to. Don't create the table that's already been created. And so, with that being said, I'm always teaching the clients that come to me, who do you see coming to your table? And I want
Mhm.
to be big. And then when you see them coming to the table, what do they bring? Because everybody has to be able to serve at your table in order for you to get you to your what's next. And that's so important. I had to learn that actually because I thought, oh, everybody I bring to my table will embrace me and they'll come and support me. And guess what? When I started pivoting to my purpose and my passion where I'm at, no one showed up. No
Mm.
one. None of the 10 showed up. None of the 10 even text me. None of the 10 even called and say, hey, nothing. And right then and there made me realize that not everybody can be for me and understand I have to do this for me, not for them. So
Mhm.
tribe is so important. And I give that story because so many people are like, well, I have all these people and I know I can count on them. Can you truly count on them? And know that you can count on them when you need that fallback. Just saying, maybe 10, the 10 could help you get you to where you're going to get to. So the community is strong and to your success, but knowing, and I also teach my clients, let's create an interview. Like, what do they like to do? What do they like to do? What compares to what I like to do? If I fall down, where will they be at? Will they be there like, I got you? Or they're like, and then those that are the ones that you need to move out of your space a little bit and go after and bring somebody else that that got you.
Mhm. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be negative, right? Like it just
Oh,
because you're transitioning. There's a place, and I tell my teenagers this all the time. We're in different seasons of your life, and your friends in elementary school were not going to necessarily be the same friends you have in middle school. They're not going to be the same friends you have in high school. So it's the same thing for adults. As we're thinking about our careers, maybe in our corporate space, we had more in common with people, certain women, but then when we moved into the entrepreneur space, we just the chemistry is not quite there because they're things that we relate about aren't quite the same.
absolutely. And but you know what? Let's be honest. When we leave that corporate world and we have that corporate family, and I say that because we're always like, you hear that so many times, and I still hear that. We have that corporate family, and when you think you transition or move to that what's next, you think they'll come with you. And that's also another a struggle too, because there you rely on them. But then knowing that when you cross over to your what's next, sometimes they're not there. And it's okay. And know that it's
Mhm.
okay. And like you
Mhm.
said, everybody's not ready. It's not for your what's next.
Mhm. Yeah. So what give us a couple of things that you see that we need to be on the lookout for. So if you're contemplating leaving the corporate space and maybe you've done the research and you've got a kind of idea where you want, what are some of the mistakes that you see people making that you think, "Oh, gosh, if they just knew this, I could have saved them a lot of time and energy and misery."
Just do it. Honestly, I talked to the one person that said, "Yeah, I would do it." I asked her, "Well, what held her back?" She said, "Someone like you just telling me to jump. Jump and do it. Do it with it's okay if I fail." And I always say, like Beyonce, she embraced failure. We all going to fail, but embrace it to grow. So the first thing I always tell everybody when I talk to those other women, 89% of my team, I'm like, "Ladies, let's just do it no matter what. And if you fail, failure is okay. And
Yeah.
why hold back?" So that's the
Mhm.
first thing it would be to just do it. And I say that for myself because I waited so long, worried about what everybody was thinking about, worried about the judgment. And then, you bring on everything else. And where I was just like, and my girlfriend's like, "Well, you got to do it. And if you don't do it, it's going to eat at you." Well, she was right. And so just do it is the first thing. First and
Mhm.
foremost, and then create a plan. The plan is
Mhm.
so important. You hear people saying, "Well, I'm just gonna quit." I did actually have a client that said, "Pam, I'm quitting today." And I'm like, "Well, wait a minute. Do we have a plan?" She's like, "Nope, and it's too late because I've already handed it in." I'm like, "Okay, well, let us breathe on it and let's work on our plan." And to this day, she's running an amazing gourmet waffle business. So be confident in yourself and be assured of what you're doing. You got it, because guess what? God has given that your purpose in you. You just have to go follow through with it.
Mhm. Yeah, that's so true. And the idea of a plan is a bit intimidating, I think, for some people. So, how do you even get them started with the plan? Because again, if you're not a planner or an engineer or someone who's very analytical, dreaming big you can do, but then all of a sudden you're being asked to put it pen to paper, and that can be really overwhelming for some people.
So it is. So first thing how I do it is I believe in doing it small. Making it so small, make 30-day goals. Because once you achieve a 30-day goal, then your 90-day goal is going to come like that. But
Yeah.
knowing that you start small, and that's what I always teach my clients. We start small. May it be we write the plan. Okay, that's a goal right there. Writing it down, designating, well, how are you going to write it? Well, I'm going to sit down. I want to talk about have a start brainstorming. What do you want to do? May it be you want to travel. Okay, you want to travel? Where you want to travel and how you're going to get there. Then we start breaking it down on, okay, now we know you want to travel. What's the next step? Well, I need to get this done. Okay, then we're going to create, and we just start working. I work on making the big picture first, and then do the small bits and pieces. Because once you do the small pieces, your big goals right here is your motivator. And now you have these little 30-day goals saying, "Oh wow, I'm getting closer and closer to my goal. I got this." And let's be honest, once you achieve the first goal, you're like, "Man, the others that's coming behind me is a piece of cake."
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. I love it. You got me all excited just to reevaluate my goals.
Absolutely.
Well, good. Hey, Pamela, tell us a little bit about your programs and how you work with folks. Because I know people listening and tuning in that have any interest in leaving the corporate space or have thought about it or are really close to it. You've given them some really great tips and things to consider. How do you work? How do you bring on people? And what does that look like in some of your programs?
So the first step is I would love to invite all your listeners. Let's have a tea and talk. I love tea. And why not just sit down? We do a 15 minutes. Just even see if you're really ready for your what's next. And I say that because, we're all about, yeah, I can do it. But then maybe you're not just there yet. And I mean, you're not just there yet. You have to be so mentally ready, prepared. Some people are just ready. Like I said, I had a client that jumped. She really wasn't ready to jump, but we worked through it. And that happens, and it's okay. But knowing
Mhm.
that, let's sit down, and if we had talked it through and said, "Hey, let's give it a 15-minute, let's give you 5 more days, create a plan, and then you can jump." She would have been, she's as successful as she is. It does happen. But let's just sit down and talk first. Let's sit
Mhm.
down and see where you are. And if you are ready, then I have actually have where we can set a goal for 30 days. I believe, like I said, I do the 30-day goals because actually we set one goal for 30 days and we break that down into small bites so you know where you are going after. So it sits there and we just talk about it because I want people to be like, okay, I have a plan. It's just like a blanket. You know, if you have your blanket wrapped around you, like, okay, I got it. I feel it. I can see it. And it's possible. So that's
Mhm.
how I always start out with. We just start out with a T and talk, and then we work on determining, okay, do we want to do the small goal where you're just ready to just let's work on it, or do you want to work on where I have a 90 where we work on goals for 90 days, where it comes in where we do step by step, where we talk about it, where we do some brainstorming. We start even, even if you cross that wall, we all hit that wall, what does it look like and how do we get over that wall and things like that. So I have several plans that we do together.
Yeah, that's exciting. And of course, the visioning that you do with people is probably the inspiration and roadmap for all of that.
Absolutely. Actually it's exciting for me because I get to hear an end, someone else's story. And I'm fortunate enough that I feel blessed actually that they're wanting to even share their story with me and talk about, Pam, here's where I want. And here's how this is the end goal, but how do I get to the middle? And if I face something, what do I do? So that's
Mhm.
even exciting for me to allow, they're allowing me to help their vision come true. So it's so rewarding for both of us.
Yeah, that's great. Pamela, how can people reach you? I'm going to go ahead and put your website up so everyone knows, visionmademedia.biz. But Pamela, how's the best way to reach you? What social media channels are you on? How do you connect with your folks?
Absolutely. So people can read, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, and I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me under Pamela Stone on all of those channels, or you can find me under Vision Media and Vision Made Media. I'm so excited. Vision Made Media. And you can even check out on Facebook some of the interviews that I've done with other women around the world as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. It has been such a pleasure having you on. I love the excitement. I love the work that you're doing. And I love that you are talking to women who are making powerful choices about what's next for them in their life. That's very exciting. I applaud you for the work that you do.
Thank you for having me. This was a blast.
It was awesome. I loved it. It was great. And I can't wait to connect with some of your community and make sure my community connects with yours.
Absolutely. And take care of yourself.
Thanks. All right, guys, that wraps up this episode of Saturday Soundbites. As always, make sure you check out all the links in the show notes. I want you to connect with Pamela Stone. If you ever have a need for visioning, let me just tell you that her excitement and her energy is going to come right through, and it's exactly what you need to make decisions for what's next for you. So be sure to hit subscribe on the podcast if you are listening on any of your podcast favorite podcast platforms. That's a lot to say. Or if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments with the hashtag replay, and Pamela and I will go back and connect with you. So, with that, I'm going to wrap up this episode by sending you lots of positive energy and light.